Hello, and welcome to this deep dive into the battle for technological supremacy, a battle that is not just about chips, but about global influence, economic power, and the future of innovation. Today, we're focusing on one of the most fascinating developments in the ongoing semiconductor war, where the Netherlands has taken a surprising stance, defying U.S. pressures on potentially reshaping the future of technology itself. The semiconductor industry, often called the backbone of modern technology, is at the heart of a new geopolitical struggle. The Netherlands, with its tech giant ASML, has found itself at the center of this struggle caught between the world's two largest economies, the United States and China. ASML, a Dutch company, controls the global market for photolithography machines devices crucial for manufacturing the world's most advanced semiconductors. If ASML decides to continue its business with China, it could tilt the scales of power in ways we never imagined. But what exactly is at stake in this battle? Why is the Netherlands so critical in this global technological chess game? Let's explore how this all ties together. The semiconductor industry, the heart of modern technology. To truly understand the importance of ASML and its role in the semiconductor industry, we first need to appreciate the magnitude of the sector. Semiconductors power almost everything in our modern world, from smartphones and computers to automobiles, medical devices, and national defense systems. They are the brains behind the digital revolution. But producing semiconductors isn't simple. It requires advanced machines, and not just any machines, extreme ultraviolet EUV lithography machines, which are essential for producing the most advanced microchips. This is where ASML comes into play. ASML is the only company in the world capable of producing these EUV machines, and they are a critical part of global semiconductor production. Without ASML's machines, companies like Taiwan's TSMC, South Korea's Samsung, and US-based Intel would be unable to produce cutting-edge chips. Now, let's zoom in on the geopolitical implications of ASML's role in the semiconductor ecosystem. The global semiconductor war, US, China, and the power struggle, the geopolitical struggle for semiconductor dominance, is not new. It's been intensifying in recent years, with the US and China locked in a fierce battle for technological superiority. The US has long been a dominant force in semiconductor production, but China has been making strides to catch up. This is where the US fears that ASML's machines could become a tool in China's rise to self-sufficiency in semiconductor production. In an effort to maintain its technological edge, the U.S. has imposed a series of restrictions on Chinese companies, particularly in the semiconductor space. These restrictions have aimed to prevent China from accessing the cutting-edge chip-making technology that is needed to develop advanced chips. The U.S. government has lobbied its allies, including the Netherlands, to cut off all semiconductor-related technology shipments to China, especially the UV machines made by ASML. But here's where things get complicated. ASML's decision to continue exporting older generation DUV deep ultraviolet lithography machines to China, despite US pressure, has raised eyebrows. Why would the Netherlands risk angering its powerful ally? Why would it choose economic stability over political alignment? To answer these questions, we need to understand the complex interplay of economics, politics, and the future of technology. The Netherlands dilemma. A nation caught between superpowers. The Netherlands is not just any country. It plays a unique role in global geopolitics due to its highly advanced technology sector and its central role in the semiconductor industry. ASML, which is headquartered in Veldhoven, is not just a major player in the Dutch economy, but also a vital contributor to the European Union's technological and industrial capabilities. For the Netherlands, cutting off trade with China would mean a significant loss in revenue. In 2023 alone, China accounted for nearly 46% of ASML's total sales, generating over $7 billion in revenue. This makes China ASML's second largest market, a crucial part of its business model. Cutting off this market could send shockwaves through the company, potentially leading to layoffs, reduced investments, and the weakening of its technological edge. But the dilemma for the Netherlands is not just about economics. It's also about the future of global technology. The Netherlands has long prided itself on being a neutral player in global geopolitics, particularly in matters of international trade. However, aligning fully with the U.S. and cutting off China could potentially damage the Netherlands' position as a leading technological power. The U.S. pressure a strategy to block China's rise. From Washington's perspective, the goal is clear: prevent China from gaining access to advanced semiconductor technology that could power its growing tech industry. The U.S. has long been worried about China's technological rise and its ambitions to become self-sufficient in semiconductor production. The fear is that if China gains access to ASML's EUV machines, it could eventually reduce its reliance on Western technologies and disrupt the global technological balance. This strategy, while aggressive, is rooted in a desire to maintain the U.S.'s leadership in global technology. However, there's a flaw in this approach. It assumes that without access to ASML's advanced machines, China will be unable to produce cutting-edge chips. This assumption is already being tested. Recent reports suggest that China has made significant strides in its semiconductor capabilities. Despite the heavy sanctions imposed by the U.S., China's semiconductor industry grew by 70% in 2023, an impressive feat that demonstrates the country's increasing ability to produce its own advanced chips. Furthermore, Chinese companies like SMC Semiconductor, Manufacturing International Corporation, are now capable of producing 7-nanometer chips, a breakthrough that U.S. officials once believed was impossible under current restrictions. This signals a worrying trend for the U.S. If China can develop advanced chips domestically, it could eventually surpass the West in semiconductor production, leading to a fundamental shift in global technological power. ASML's role in the semiconductor ecosystem: dominating the market. At the core of this battle is ASML's role as the undisputed leader in the semiconductor lithography market. ASML's EUV machines are essential for producing the most advanced microchips, which are used in everything from smartphones to self-driving cars and artificial intelligence systems. These machines are so crucial to semiconductor manufacturing that they have become the most valuable technology in the industry. But here's the thing: ASML's dominance is not unchallenged. If China manages to develop its own lithography technology, it could eventually bypass ASML, changing the entire landscape of the semiconductor industry. Already, China is making significant investments in its domestic semiconductor capabilities. The Chinese government has injected billions of dollars into its tech sector, and companies like SMIC are racing to develop their own alternatives to ASML's machines. If China succeeds in this endeavor, it could render ASML obsolete, fundamentally altering the global semiconductor supply chain. This is why the stakes in this battle are so high, not just for the US and China, but for Europe and for the future of global technology. The economic fallout. What happens if ASML cuts off China? If ASML were to comply fully with the US sanctions and stop selling to China, the economic fallout would be significant. As mentioned earlier, China accounted for 46% of ASML's total sales in 2023. Cutting off China would not only mean a loss of $7 billion in revenue, but also disrupt the entire global semiconductor supply chain. The ripple effects of such a decision would extend far beyond the Netherlands. Companies like TSMC and Samsung, which rely on ASML's technology, would be impacted. The entire tech ecosystem, from chip manufacturers to end users, would experience disruptions. Moreover, the geopolitical consequences would be far-reaching, potentially damaging the Netherlands' relationship with China, a country that is rapidly becoming a global economic superpower. The European Union's stand: fragmentation of global trade policy. The situation has exposed a deeper divide within Europe itself. While countries like France and Germany have publicly supported the U.S. stance on limiting semiconductor exports to China, there is a growing sense of frustration within other European countries. The key issue is that American companies like Intel and AMD continue to receive exceptions to do business with Chinese companies, while European companies face much stricter restrictions. This inconsistency has led to growing discontent within Europe, particularly in countries like the Netherlands, where ASML is a national treasure. Some European leaders are now questioning why Europe should follow Washington's lead when American companies seem to benefit from exceptions, while European companies are left to shoulder the burden of sanctions. The future: a fragmented semiconductor world. As this semiconductor battle intensifies, the world is likely heading toward a fragmented technological landscape. The global semiconductor industry could split into two competing ecosystems, one led by the US and its allies, and the other by China. This division could create a new kind of technological Cold War, with countries forced to choose sides, either aligning with the West or with China. If ASML continues to sell to China, it could accelerate this fragmentation, giving China the technological edge it needs to challenge the West's dominance. However, if the Netherlands caves to U.S. pressure, it risks losing its economic independence and damaging its relationship with China, a country that will soon be a dominant player in the global tech ecosystem. Conclusion: a pivotal moment in global technology. As we look to the future, it's clear that the semiconductor industry will be at the heart of global geopolitical struggles. The decisions made by countries like the Netherlands will shape the future of technology, global trade, and economic power. Will Europe continue to follow the U.S. lead, or will it carve out its own path, balancing its economic interests with its political alliances? One thing is certain: the semiconductor war is far from over, and its outcome will have profound implications for the future of technology. Will ASML continue to dominate the market, or will China rise to challenge the West's technological supremacy? The answer to that question could define the next era of global competition, innovation, and technological leadership.